The day that I lose my passion for aged care is a day that I need to leave. You can teach somebody anything, but you can't teach somebody to have heart, and that's what we're looking for.
And when residents come out of their shell, I bet there's some absolute characters, isn't there?
Oh, gotcha.
Hello everyone, episode 2 of the Back in My Day podcast, Navigating Aged Care series. I was lucky enough to have 2 guests on this week's episode. That was Diana and Helen from St Basil's Aged Care. Diana, the CEO, she was kind enough to write down some questions that families can use to ask providers to make sure they're making the right choice. Helen, admissions and customer experience, again, great advice. We can't wait for you to watch this episode. If you enjoy it, please do like, comment, share, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. So thanks so much for coming on the podcast. So Diana, you're the CEO of St Basil's, and Helen, you're the Customer Experience and Admissions Manager.
That's right.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. This is to give some advice to families that are navigating the aged care process for the first time. So yeah, hopefully you can have some helpful tips and advice we can give them. So if it's okay, I'll just jump into the questions and go through.
Yeah.
So number 1, what led you into aged care and what keeps you passionate about it today?
So I joined aged care in 2007, and prior to that I was working in a financial position. And in those days they didn't have the internet and they had the newspaper, and I felt that I wasn't getting the satisfaction that I wanted from my work or career. So I was looking through the pages of the newspaper and there was an ad and it said, "The elderly deserve the best, they deserve you." So in 2007, the government was creating a scheme based on some neglect and bad things that were happening in aged care. So they were looking for all different professionals, not just clinical. So I put my hand up, and in 2007, in February, I joined the commission, stayed there for about 15 years and learnt so many new things. But as a regulator, it's easy to walk around and tell people what's wrong. So what I wanted to do was to be challenged and actually be part of the solution. And I learned so much, but more importantly, what I realised is I started at the age of 32. 18 years later, I've just turned 50, and I was joking, saying that I'm investing in everyone else's future, but really I'm investing in my own as well. Yeah. So to your question, why and the passion, the day that I lose my passion for aged care is a day that I need to leave, because what we do is so important. And I recently lost my dad, and I saw what the health system is like and how important it is on the other end as a family member. And I will always continue to have that empathy.
Yeah, all right. What was it like moving from finance into aged care? What was that first sort of couple of years like?
I absolutely loved it, because very quickly it gave me the satisfaction that I was looking for. And I think what was missing for me, I'm a high achiever, I will do well, but it didn't give me the meaning. So, and a lot of the approaches that you use in finance, you can still use pragmatically when you're investigating, when you're, writing reports. But what I really learned was the communication and the people side of things, and how much, how much satisfaction you get when people thank you, or genuinely you can see that after, dealing with us, that they felt better or more comfortable, and a really difficult journey became easier.
So you fell in love with it straight away?
Straight away.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Yeah. Awesome. How about you, Helen?
Very similar experience. So I worked in government for over 20 years. I am showing my age. But I was always in customer experience, customer service, frontline staff, managing contact centres.
Yeah.
So I got the call one day from St Basil's. They were looking at streamlining the inquiry coming into St Basil, all the different services. And it was love at first sight. Obviously, I'm Greek. I've got the connection with the Greek community. So for me, that was actually making a difference in my day-to-day. So not just the customer journey, but also looking at, families are coming into us at a time that it's quite difficult. Most of them don't want to place the loved ones into an aged care home, so it's a difficult decision. It takes them a lot of effort as a family to come to a decision like that, to try to make that journey a smooth journey, to listen. I think that's just, it's huge for me. So I've been with St Basil's now for 3.5 years, and yeah.
Yeah, it's great that you both just fell into it and loved it straight away and continue to be passionate. That's great. Awesome. For someone navigating aged care for the first time, where's the best place to start?
Typically, they'll reach out to a GP or they'll reach out to My Aged Care. There's a plethora of information on the web. If they reach out to a provider like St Basil's, we're here to help them each step of the way. So we look at the process, we look at approvals, and we can guide the family or the consumer themselves. Hospitals as well with social workers, they're there to support and navigate that process, finding a provider, but also finding the right provider for the family. Yeah. We get approached by social workers or health professionals when they're looking at one of the patients is of Greek descent, can't speak English, they might have a dementia diagnosis, and they'll look at, St Basil's, which, we offer obviously lots of support for Greek-speaking residents. So, yeah.
Great, awesome. Anything to add on that?
No, I concur. I think for the majority of people who are starting the aged care journey, My Aged Care portal would be the first point. Because
there's plenty of information on there. That's a good place to...
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest to navigate, but if you get somebody that's computer savvy, it is definitely, because it provides all of the relevant information, the assessments that are required, the contact details, the history about the providers and so forth, and step by step.
Okay, so a great place to start.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that. What are the most important things a family should look for when choosing an aged care home?
I'll start. So the way that I explain it to people when they ask me is, for anyone that's got children, I had children. When I was living in the eastern suburbs and I had twin girls, I was told you need to go on a waiting list, you need to go and enrol them urgently. So I went to the la-di-da 5-star kindergarten that everybody was talking about. And I walked in and I did a tour, and I was quite young, and I went with my sister. And as I walked in, there was a little boy, I'll never forget it to this day, and my daughters are 26, holding the gate, crying for his mummy, like it gives me goosebumps, with tears running down his face. And so I did a tour, we walked around for half an hour, asked questions, sat in the office, I was handed paperwork, not dissimilar to an aged care, environment. And as I was walking out with my sister, that little boy was still standing there and crying.
So no one came to him?
No one came to him for that half an hour, 45 minutes. Not distracted him. I don't know if they didn't come to him, but he was still there. So even at that age, never knowing that I'd be working in aged care, I gave the paper back, the forms, and I said, I'm really sorry. I don't care how nice this place looks. That child has been standing there crying, unattended, and I walked out. And then I found I was going to say nursing home, a kindergarten in Mascot, which was on appearance a 3-star, multicultural, working class, you name it. My daughters used to run to the instructors. They loved it there. So the reason that I'm starting off like this is because for me, and also having been a regulator and gone to many, many homes unannounced, I think observation is critical, So when you do walk around, you don't only just look at the environment, you also look at the interaction, how the residents are interacting amongst themselves, how they actually look, how the staff are engaging with them. Are they genuinely happy? Then look at the meal dining experience. Get a copy of the menu. What do activities actually look like? So observation is critical, and also talking to people as well. If you see family members, ask them what they think. Word of mouth is critical. Speak to residents it's a really good start. And then equally speak to the general manager, because the general manager, the care manager get introduced to staff, because that is who will be your collaborative team to make sure that your loved one is well looked after.
Yeah, awesome. Do you think it's okay for families to ask just to almost roam around and have a look by themselves? Because I'm just thinking, would some providers almost sort of shepherd people around the site and just take them to the best parts? Is it fair for families to sort of just ask to walk around by themselves, or is that difficult?
I think that's a really good question. I think for privacy considerations, because it's people's homes, that, people walking around freely, like every day, let's say, if we have somebody touring or doing a site visit, would not necessarily be, I think, appropriate. But what I would recommend, if people wanted to do that, is to actually allow them to see everywhere that they want to see, stand, and observe, and make sure that if there's residents, that they understand and that they're comfortable, because at the end of the day, it's their home, so we need to ask their permission. But absolutely, like I said, to look at all of the different aspects, do you know what I mean? Inside an empty room, the cleanliness, absolutely not to be shown, but to ask where they want to see. And I would be looking at which floor, your loved one is going to, but also the dining experience, the activities, and getting copies of documentation, and even a sample care plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Any insight to that, Helen?
No, that's amazing. That's what we do. So we listen and we tailor. Yes, it's a guided tour, but we listen to the consumer or the family, and we tailor that tour to what they want to see, to what they want to get out of that tour. So yes, due to privacy reasons, obviously we can't leave them, but also it commences from the phone call that we get initially, before even that tour is booked. So what can we do to kind of encourage her or to see the positive in this? So then we'll find out exactly what this person likes and dislikes, So if they like, for example, entertainment, and they like, Greek music, then we organise the tour on the day where we might have entertainment, So when they're coming in, there is an entertainer there, and they see all the residents participating. So I guess we tailor that experience.
Yeah, that's great.
To them. It's not a fake. We don't put the entertainment just because we're having a tour. This is day-to-day activities that we have in place. We'll just tailor, and we'll just make that booking according to what they need. So it could be church. They might want to visit the church, and now because they're bedbound or they don't drive a car, they've missed the connection with the church. So we organise the tour on the day where we do have a church service. You get to meet the local priest and to see all the residents attending the church service again. So
they're going to get a really good feel for what it's like coming into the home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome, thanks for that. What's a common misconception or mistake people often make during this process?
I think you're best to answer that one.
Do you know what? There's a lot of stigma associated with nursing home, and of course, coming from a Greek background, all you hear as a child from your parents and grandparents is don't ever place me in a nursing home. So that there is that. It's changing slowly, so it is changing, which is amazing. There's twofold. One, where you might have families that expect when they bring their loved one into the nursing home, they receive hospital type care. So there's that high expectation. There's also an expectation that because they're feeling so guilty in placing their loved one into a nursing home, that they're going to be receiving the same type of care that they will be giving to their loved one. So this is about us being really transparent, sitting down on the day of the tour, or even afterwards with the care manager, the general manager, and also having that discussion with the family or the resident themselves about what clear expectations they're going to have, whether we're going to meet their expectations, because we want them to make the right decision. That family guilt must play such a big part in it all. I think that'd be the same for everyone, that they, no one really wants to have to put their loved one into a home, but no. And you've got different family members, and there's the family member who is very emotional, so they go, I don't want to let go, there could have been a carer for the mum or the dad.
Yeah.
So it's a bit hard, and you have another sibling that's going, no, I have a duty of care, the right time has come, it's actually better for them to be placed in a nursing home, high force risk or what have you. So it's up to us to kind of give a lot of information, guide the families, guide the prospective residents, tailor the conversations and the paperwork that we provide to what these people need to make the right decision for the loved one. Yeah.
And I think the only thing I have to add, and having again worked as a regulator and dealing with complaints, I saw a lot of this unreasonableness, and Helen touched on it, but it's critical for people to understand that a nursing home is exactly that, a home. And like in their own place, residents or loved ones fall, deteriorate. Coming into an aged care setting will not miraculously rehabilitate, unfortunately, most older people. And it's about how you work in partnership and set reasonable expectations. And I've had the experience, luckily, to have these complex conversations, and we're going to touch on that after. But I think to Helen's point, the critical things that family members need to consider is that if they weren't able to look after them at home, then in an environment where we have numerous residents, that there's not one-on-one care, that we do the best that we possibly can, and if they really want to substitute or add to that, then they need to provide private carers, for example, or participate and contribute more, which is what I would do if I had to put my loved one into a place. So that critical partnership is what's required.
So that's an option, is it? So you have a loved one go into a nursing home. You can then opt to have nurses on top of the nurses that already work here come in, private, fund them yourself. That is an option.
Absolutely.
Well, I never knew that.
Absolutely. And there's different options. Like you can get carers in, not clinicians, because we've got the registered nurses. But if you want to substitute, to have more intense one-on-one care, absolutely. I've seen it in many homes, including here at St Basil's, where you can just hire somebody to come in. Obviously, we need to be notified. We need to have it in the care plan. We need to set very clear, expectations that they're not to do, the role of let's say, our carers.
It's got to work in with your staff.
Absolutely, working with our staff,
Yeah, great. Yeah, well, I didn't know that, so that's great. Thanks for that. How should families approach visiting a facility? What questions should they ask? I think we've probably covered a bit of this, but is there anything else there?
So I might just start because I think it's important. So I've written down a few questions. And then maybe you can continue to say how to book the meeting or how to organise. So, well, you can test my knowledge. A family member should make an appointment with the admissions officer, manager, to do a tour. As already discussed during the process, the family member should look around the common communal areas, the rooms, observe interactions between staff and residents. And the questions, how do you ensure the settling in period is as seamless as possible? So I've picked up, there's multiple questions you can ask, but what I tried to do is pick up the ones that I think matter the most when you're actually already feeling, as we said, guilty or remorseful. So that these kind of questions and with the right answers can alleviate some of that guilt. So how do you ensure the settling in period is as seamless as possible? Because during the settling in period, that's probably the most difficult time for any new admissions and new residents. And I know as an ex-regulator that this was done so poorly across the industry, and there were some homes that did not allow you to visit your loved one. But there's also theories where it says that the more you visit, the longer it will take for your loved one to actually settle in, because they're confused depending on their diagnoses and comorbidities. So I think understanding the settling in period and how well a provider does that, I think is critical. How do you ensure that that my loved one will receive personalised care that aligns to their individual preferences? What training do the care staff have? How many staff provide overnight care? So what's the ratio of staff overnight? How do you ensure that you provide quality care and services? How do you cater for cultural requirements? What sort of social activities do you provide? And please provide a copy of the activities calendar. What are the meal arrangements? And get a sample of the menu. How do you deal with resident concerns and complaints? How do you ensure safety and security of the residents? And what measures do you have in place for emergencies?
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to put those together, and I think we'll publish them on the website with the video, if that's okay, because there's some great questions there, and they're great for families to know. Yeah, brilliant.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Passed. Thank you.
Anything to add to that? I mean, I feel like everything's been covered there, but anything to add?
I think the whole thing is covered, but also, yes, tailor the questions or the tour to your loved one. Yeah. So, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, some great stuff there. Brilliant. What advice do you have for families feeling uncertain or guilty about the decision to move a loved one into care?
So we encounter this quite often. So I think it really comes from our side. So it's more about being calm and collected, answer the calls, and guide them through the process. So people need different things. So there could be somebody who is still nervous, but they've done their research. They've gone on their websites, they've got a lot of information, they've got financial advice. So all they need from you is very limited information. Yeah. But there's others where they've done no research at all, and we need to explain every step of the way, from pre-admission assessments to actual admission day. So we just take the time, we listen really well, and we tailor the conversations to the individual, just to make them feel calm and that they're actually making the right decision. The other thing is, during the tour, they'll witness people that have been there some time enjoying themselves, because I think tour is a big selling point. Yeah. And you can see the difference from the moment they walked in with the hesitation, with that anxiety, and when they leave, and it does take, 45 minutes to an hour to finish that tour. And you can see the difference in their faces. You can see the relief after they've finished the tour, after we've explained the documentation. So I think it plays a big part in how we manage that customer experience.
Yeah. You keep using the word tailoring, and that sounds like it's super important, and sort of really picking up on what the family needs and sort of tailoring it to what they do need. I
think so. I think it's not a one size fits all. Yes, we know what we know, but it's more about what is it that they need from us at this particular point in time, and it's not there's no overwhelm them. So there are people that want to know everything, every detail, from respite to becoming permanent and beyond, whether the others, you can tell they're overwhelmed just with booking your tour. So I'm going to take it quite easy with this family and answer questions, give them reading material so they can read it later and then come back to us. So, and again, we don't push to fill a bed, yes? Yeah. It happens organically, So we allow families to have enough time to make the right decision for themselves.
So again, it's the family. They'll just pick up on that, won't they? When they come to the different providers, they're going to see the ones that do take that time to look after them. They're going to see the ones that rush them through, and that's going to be a big thing. Anything to add on that?
Yeah. So this one, I think this to me is really critical. So again, I took the time to write something down because I think you're going to like it and potentially publish it. Okay. But here it goes, because I was like answering it literally, and as if I was speaking to somebody, which I've done over many years. So the feeling of guilt and uncertainty is very common for most family members placing their loved ones into aged care. However, you are making this decision because the time has come when your loved one is most likely unsafe at home and requires professional support. You're actually acting in the best interests of your loved one. You are taking the time to find suitable accommodation, and once your loved one settles, you will see the benefits. You can continue to support your loved one emotionally and work in partnership with the home to ensure your loved one is well cared for and continue to visit and support your loved one in a safe environment. You will also see the benefits of this move once your loved one settles and participates in activities and leads a meaningful life as part of a community.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I think, I think you can see that we're both, Helen and I, are very, very passionate about aged care. And it makes me emotional because every time we see how difficult these decisions are for spouses, for children, and we have even widowers coming in who weren't participating in activities at all and literally, just isolating at home, really coming out of their shell and being part, of this vibrant community.
Yeah.
And also the guilt and suffering that family members feel when they do, start placing their loved ones. So I think, particularly St Basil's, I know, where that's going to be why St Basil's, but we've gone on this incredible journey where we have recognised the potential, and obviously under a new regime and leadership team, and it's the entire team, that, this experience is so unique and that we really need to look at what customer service looks like.
Yeah.
And thus, we started pre-admission is critical, both for the person coming in, but also for us and making sure it's the right fit.
So it's not just about families putting their loved ones somewhere to get by, it's actually we'll put them somewhere where it's going to have a really positive impact
Absolutely.
and actually greatly improve their life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I mean, we've seen the benefits of it. It's on our website, 100-year-olds singing, dancing, being part of the community. It's just incredible. Whereas at home, they're really quite isolated.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got bus outings where I know most providers do as well, but, and we'll talk about it after about why St Basil's. But some of the things, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go and join St Basil's, because it was a smaller organisation. I used to work for larger ones, where I can actually not look at just what compliance looks like, but quality.
Yeah.
And some of the initiatives that my team, starting from Helen, which is why she's here in, answering these questions with me. It's just incredible when you empower people that care and have the same vision to see the improvements in an organisation and how it benefits, individuals, but also their family members.
Yeah. And when residents come out of their shell, I bet there's some absolute characters, isn't there?
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we know them all. So, which is a great thing. We walk the floors. I know residents at every single home because before being the CEO, I came in as a consultant, headed governance, then worked in operations. But as I said, I'm a firm believer the best evidence for me is walking the floors, talking to staff, talking to family members, and looking and talking to residents. And ask the right questions, and you'll get the right answer. You'll get all the answers that you need. So there are some real characters here, and that's what we encourage people to have a voice. And it's not about appointing blame, but it's about working in partnership to improve the quality of care.
Yeah, that's great. All right, well, a few questions about St Basil's now, if that's okay.
Yes.
What makes your organisation a good choice for families who'd like to go?
So for me, and this is why I came in, this is my experience, so being customer centric, so I was brought into any organisation that I've worked in, so it's really, really important to me. At the heart of each service is the individual, so the resident and the family and the visitors, we believe that every person receiving our care is unique with their own history, preferences, needs and goals. Our approach is built on truly understanding and respecting these individual differences. Customer centricity is the foundation of our culture. Every member of our team is dedicated to putting the customer first, and we strive to build meaningful relationships based on trust, genuine care, ensuring our customers, clients, consumers feel heard, valued, and supported in their aged care journey. So for me, it starts with recruiting the right people into my team. I can teach somebody everything about a process, about the admission process, about forms that have to be completed, but having somebody who has got that empathy coming into an aged care to be able to deal with the families going through this journey with us, I think it's key. So employing the right people. And this is why we have been on this journey, and I've seen a massive difference in the last 3.5 years, especially since Diana has started with us, that we have the right people in the right positions. And I think it starts with that, and that's why we're able to be customer-centric and put the customer in the middle of every decision that we're making.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think for start any business, having the right people to then deliver that service or that care is so important, isn't it? Yeah. Anything to add on that?
No, but no, and then I go but. So just to summarise exactly what's critical for me as well, and I often say, no matter what role we have, you can teach somebody anything, but you can't teach somebody to have heart. And that's what we're looking for more and more every day. Does that make sense? So we're sponsoring staff that are showing that they have that empathy, that heart. And like I said, the unspoken is so powerful, just observing how staff interact and engage with residents. Do you know what I mean? And this is, like I said, one of the things that I absolutely love doing, and, maybe another podcast about staffing. I have seen the good, the bad and the ugly, and 99.9% of staff really have the right, attitude. It's the 1%, unfortunately, and we can't afford in this industry for the most vulnerable in our community to actually be neglected. Yeah. So that's what I look for when I even walk the floors, and, particularly dementia or those that are vulnerable that are unable to communicate for themselves. You watch the interaction between, let's say, even staff with those that are vulnerable and can't communicate. And some of the things that I've seen have been unacceptable. Yeah. So that's the kind of, I guess, why St Basil's, because we genuinely care. We're not a large organisation. We're a medium-sized non-for-profit, but we genuinely care. We have a new culture, a new team, and we do open disclosure non-stop all the time. Our entire executive team, starting from the CEO and senior management like Helen, will attend meetings, and as you see, my approach is to do it collaboratively. Yeah. I'm only as good as my team is only as good as me, so we lead by example. We have zero tolerance for bullying, up, down, sideways. We respect family members, we respect, residents, but equally we respect our staff. So St Basil's is the right choice for those people that are looking for uniqueness, for an organisation that's culturally aware, and it's predominantly Greek Australian. We still cater for a lot of other cultures because we understand culture. We've got Catholic services, we've got Jewish people living here, and we cater our activities, cater for all, and we're really kind of evolving and really getting incredible people within the team. And what's great is we've had some great succession stories. One very quickly, a staff member that started as an AIN, then became a registered nurse, then became a clinical educator, then became a quality manager, then left and worked for an education company within aged care, then missed the interaction with human beings too much and residents, came back and is now heading the community services as a general manager. So within the organisation, and he's only 33. So you can see...
Where next for him then?
Well, I think he wants to be the next CEO.
Oh, yeah. Watch out.
With my mentorship, watch out. But I think, that's important because, we talked about what to look for, but I think the culture of the organisation and the staff, not just the frontline staff, but also the management, because I've met with CEOs that most people have never seen before, like when I was a regulator. We have our board members coming and doing guided tours once a month when we have board meetings at every different home. So we have a community feeling.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for going through that. That's excellent. How do you support your residents and families during the transition into care?
I think we've covered that throughout. It's more about, it is listening to their needs, it's supporting them throughout. There's no wrong door. They can contact myself, they can contact any member of the team at any time if they're feeling that they've missed something or if they have any questions, just supporting them throughout that journey. And also, the journey doesn't end just because they've been admitted into a home. So it continues. It's that check-in process where me as the customer experience and admissions manager, or my team as the admissions officers, would check in with the families. And that could be through a form, or it could be just having a chat as they enter the home to visit their loved one. So it could be ad hoc. I visit all homes. This is the beauty of having a small organisation where we've got 4 residential aged care homes. So every week I visit all 4 of them. Yeah. So I walk the floor, I walk throughout the corridors, I get to see how the new residents are settling in, how the families, if there's any concerns that they might have, they get addressed quite quickly. So there's no wrong door. So if anybody approaches anyone, then things get escalated quite quickly and get resolved. We get lots of positive feedback about that experience coming into the home. Some of them have had experiences with other nursing homes, and when we get this positive experience coming in here and great feedback, I think that gives us a little boost. There's also some things that we haven't done so well, but we listen and we tweak things along the way.
It's so important to get that feedback and then act on it.
And that would be part of the documentation that we provide. Maybe it's not clear enough. So we don't want any ambiguity. So we tweak documentation and we'll make sure that the next family that reads it, and it's quite clear. So,
So it's not just looking after the residents, it's really looking after the whole family, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole family, but also supporting our team. So we all work, so all middle management up, executives. So if I walk the floor and I see something that doesn't fall within my remit, I will still address it.
That's
so
great.
we're all supporting each other. So I think that's what the difference is about St Basil's.
Awesome.
And I also think it's important to note that legislatively we have an obligation, again having a strong regulatory background, that within the admission period, so post-admission, we do what we call an interim care plan, to Helen's point. So it forces organisations, if they're being compliant, to actually do the appropriate assessments, reviews, and have the meetings with the person responsible, which we call. So to your point with families, and there's always family dynamics, and what's really important and why St Basil's is because we really now understand our legislative obligations. So we're not here to please 20 family members, we're here to represent the resident. And one of the key messages throughout all of this and our journey is I have always, as a regulator and working in other providers, advocated so strongly for a person to have a voice. So every time that there's a guided tour, and it's something that I've missed that I should have said from the onset, even people living with dementia are still able to make decisions. They may not be able to make financial decisions, but someone with mild to moderate dementia can still determine what they want to wear, whether they like something, how they want to sleep or not. And often when somebody is older, and unfortunately it's not a sexy topic, but we're all going to get there, like I said, 18 years, I've blinked, and I'm, middle-aged. So for me, it's making sure that every part of the admission journey, and I advocate for this, and Helen will confirm this, to the managers, has the resident been consulted with? Is this what the resident wants? So a part of our responsibility is to also educate, and this is where my experience comes in, and I will support my team to have those difficult conversations where family members are being unreasonable, because for many years I have seen that it's what the family member wants versus what the person wants. And if anyone who's got children, I can tell you there's a lot of decisions that I'm making that my children question. Well, tough luck. So when I'm, 80 or 90, you're not going to tell me if I've smoked all my life, I've had 3 glasses of wine a night, that I have to stop, or that all of a sudden I have to go on a diet. And these are the things that I see historically. And this is the things that the Commission looks at, but more importantly for me, everything that we do, we put the resident at the centre.
So is that a common thing? Do families, I'm sure they're not doing it intentionally, but they just start to take over and they start to sort of actually think, let's stop a minute, actually, what does mum or granddad or, what do they actually want? Well.
So when I came in as a consultant and we were non-compliant, and I've seen this across many homes, when you look and, you asked, again, a really pertinent question, it is a partnership with family. But imagine we have 100 and something residents and each resident has, let's say, 10 family members or 5 that want to be involved, right? And the other thing that I want to make sure that we've seen over the years, it's not who barks the loudest that we're going to look after. We want to create an environment that's equal and fair. So that's why understanding the foundations and our regulatory requirements gets us on that path, because under the legislation you assess somebody's capability to make decisions for themselves. Even if they can, they still can nominate a support person or a person responsible. If they lack capacity, then it has to be a substitute decision maker. In the absence of a legal document, which is a guardianship form, and where that nominates an individual. So our responsibility really is to work with that individual, because for all intents and purposes, if the person lacks capacity, that individual is the person. Does that make sense? But if we were then to cater, all we'd be doing is, communicating with family members and forgetting about the most important person, which is the resident. So these are the things that I've introduced through governance, which I think works really, really well. And I think I also want to just say that Helen is very, very modest, but her customer service, and I've worked in customer service for over 20 years, is second to none. And I've been here in August, it will be 4 years. And she's getting an admissions officer to support her, because it's such a fundamental role. But regardless of how many, and we've gone on this journey where we had we had quite a lot of empty beds, to now most of our homes being 100% to 98%, which is our KPI. And every person that I've spoken to, and people take the time to give feedback and how exemplary her customer service skills are, and that's the truth. It's like I'm tough, but that's the honest to God truth. So, and to our point, you can't train somebody to have heart and those special things that Helen mentioned. Calling in after, my next door neighbour actually placed his mum here at St Basil's Randwick, and he didn't even know I was the CEO initially, but he was telling me how incredible Helen was, and that she rings to check in and see how things are going. And they're the things that really matter for family members as well. And as Helen said, if there are issues, like any household, and this is the other key thing for family members to remember, a home is like they were at home themselves. Nothing's perfect all the time. No one's household is perfect all the time. But the whole purpose of things going wrong is that we actually fix them, and that we work in partnership. So, like I said, St Basil's has come a long way, and it's people like Helen that are great that actually make this experience better for not just the family members, not the resident, but the family members as well, because they at least know that they're not being lied to, because again, that's the majority of things where most family members get really upset. And when I worked in government, was the number one reason, not because a serious incident occurred, is because they felt that they were lied to and that things were being covered up. And we have zero tolerance for that. And now the Commission's caught up and we have to do open disclosure and serious incidents. But that's something that we introduced 4 years ago.
Yeah, great. So again, it just comes back to the people. You can't teach someone to genuinely care.
No.
Awesome. All right. One more question. Are there any initiatives or programs you're particularly proud of?
All our cultural events, the connection with the community, lots of community networks coming in and visit our residents. So to build that connection, and not forgetting that the family can't, for example, the residents that are coming into the home, they've lost contact with communities, with the church groups that they used to be really vibrant, and attending a lot. Maybe they don't drive anymore, so they've lost that connection with the community. And then they're coming to the nursing home, and all of a sudden you've got 2-3 events a week, sometimes more, where the Greek community is actually coming into your home, and they're building that connection again. That's beautiful. I was at a Lakemba facility not long ago, where we had some of the soccer players that came from Greece, that they were part of the Euro 2004.
When they won it?
Yes.
Yeah, well.
So they actually came in to visit, and
you should have invited me. I would have liked that.
Yes, it was very exciting. It was just beautiful to see. And we had this resident who was an ex-soccer player, and he does have dementia. Yeah. And just to see him, he had photos of himself playing. He wanted to get him autographed. It was just amazing to see the look on his face, and also the family members. It was just awesome. So just to have all those different cultural events coming in, went through obviously the Greek Orthodox Easter. We have the residents actually participating in all the cultural events. So from building the Epitafio, for Good Friday, and it's just that part of the service. So I think that's beautiful for me.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah. Anything to add on there?
Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
Great, awesome. So I did just have 2 more questions. Is it right to keep going? Is that all right? Yeah. If a family's feeling overwhelmed, what would you say to them?
Have a scotch. Joking.
Look, the way I approach it is that it's very common, and I explain that they're not alone. I put myself in their shoes as well, so I explain how I will feel. So they're not alone. We're here to support them along the way. Again, we listen, tailor the conversation to what they need to get out of it. There's no pressure from our perspective. We take it as fast or as slow as the situation requires. The loved one might be in a hospital setting, they're ready to be discharged, so we have to find a suitable bed within a day or 2, or they're looking at, long term, So we just tailor the conversation, and we're here to support them. So I guess reiterating that they're not alone, and we're very transparent. Any question, we don't shy away. We explain the costings early on, so they know what to look out for. We also have links with, our financial advisors, so we can guide them through to get the right advice for the situation.
So all that help and support is there that they need when they're feeling overwhelmed. That's great. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. There's been some great advice, great tips, and great to learn more about St Basil's. I've learned a lot as well, so that's been fantastic. Finally, what can people do if they do want to reach out to St Basil's? Do they start by going through the website? Do they reach out to yourselves? What's the best thing to do?
Both. So they can go to the website and book a tour through lodge an inquiry over the website, and that comes to our team, or they can just reach out to me directly, and I can help them around.
Yeah, great. We'll add some contact details.
Yes.
That'd be great. Awesome. Yeah, well, thanks again so much for that. It's been great.